This is Pro Series Off Topic.
Hello and welcome back to Pro Series Off Topic. I'm trying this again. I recorded for 15 minutes earlier about this topic and realized my microphone wasn't plugged in. So that's great. 15 minutes of I thought was great content and great points that I was making means nothing now. So let's start all over again. This is a topic that I get asked a lot. When I talk to other people, and especially in the interior design world, I always suggest people post at least 3 times a day, or not 3 times a day. Holy crap! Can you imagine posting 3 times a day? I could barely get 3 posts a week. I mean, 3 posts a week, and a lot of people can't do that. They just either can't keep up with it or just don't know what to post. Which that's a whole issue within itself that we have talked about specifically in the interior design world, but. That's a huge topic that you can't think of it. It's probably best to hire someone to help you out with content creation, just for a little bit, and then once you get the hang of it, and you'll start seeing projects and content in a different way, and it's going to be so much easier to figure out what to post and what content to come up with. But this is going to be all about what the lazy way of posting, which I say lazy, but it really isn't lazy. It's still very tedious, and that's Instagram stories. I have talked about it here on Off Topic before, that I always say keep it active, meaning Instagram stories is, if you don't know, if you go to someone's profile and there's a glowing ring around their profile picture, that means they have an active story. You always want to have an active story. Instagram stories last for 24 hours. And you always want to keep it active. I always keep it active. It very, very rarely comes to an end. And the reason is you want to keep your profile active, even if you're not posting. And I'm going to come up with some ways of what you could do to utilize it. And these are basically the top 3 reasons on why you should be using Instagram stories. Instagram stories are super easy, by the way. It's highly effective for not just if you're an individual, but a business as well. But for number one, it increases the visibility and engagement. It's priority placement. Instagram stories, they're appearing at the top of the user's profile, like I said, and they make them one of the first things that people see, even before your content. So when you open up your app, that's the first thing you see at the top of the page on your newsfeed, even when you're not on someone's account. It's prime location and placement for you to be increase your visibility on someone's profile. Swipe up feature is a huge deal. It's not available for everybody. Unfortunately, I think Instagram really needs to change that. I think if you're set to a business account or a content creator account, you should be able to do it. If you're a personal account, and you're running a business, please change that, because you're losing out on so many lost opportunities. But the swipe up feature will, with certain follower accounts or verified accounts, you will get that feature. And basically it is what it is. You swipe up and it allows you to direct people to links. So instead of clicking on a link, you swipe it up, and you could do that clicking on the link. That's what I usually do. Just drives traffic to your website, your blog. I do it to my podcast. It's just an easier way to get people involved into your content. Number 2 is authenticity and storytelling. This is something I don't. Authenticity I do. Storytelling is hard. I just can't put my phone up to my face and tell a story. Which it's kind of weird because I do the podcast, but I just can't physically record myself telling a story. But if you look at any of the people that go on Instagram story rants on any topic possible, even if it's completely off topic of their branding, they do so well. It just relates to people. So doing like the behind the scenes stuff, it provides a platform for sharing more information, behind the scene glimpse of your life or in your business. So if you're a designer, maybe you're installing one day and just kind of talking about the install or something that went bad or something. It's something that's not really worthy of a whole post, but it's worthy of an Instagram story. So think of it that way. It helps humanize your brand and build a personal connection with your audience other than just your business itself. So it's a huge thing. And then storytelling. I mean, it's hard for me, and I know I need to get better with it, but the stories allow you to tell, you being the narrator, over a series of images or short videos or just that day. It's an effective way to convey a message. It showcases products, or take your audience on the journey through you. Again, I keep bringing up interior design, but I think that's the majority of my following anyway. So, or real estate, just kind of going throughout the day life. If you've been on TikTok lately, they go through those life of a realtor or life of a designer type of videos, and that's content worthy. But think of those as your storytelling stories. Number three, adaptability to trends. And I do that a lot. Like if something's on TV or something's popular, I'll post in stories. And it's frequently updates and fresh content. So Instagram stories are temporary. Again, like I said, it creates a sense of urgency for your viewers to catch up with you before you actually post any content. This encourages you to post more frequently and keeps your profile active. Like I said, keep it active. It shows even when you didn't post for a week or 2 weeks, or sometimes people haven't posted in months. It gives it a sense of you're still active, you still care about your account, and you'll get a lot of DMs through your stories. Like, people relate on it, they'll comment, and that's something I encourage you to do. I do as well. I comment on people's stories, or I like people's stories, because that comes their notification feed, and that's another way for people to realize who you are and connect with them. It's all about connection. Think of social media not as what you think of it in your personal world. When you're thinking of it in the business world, think of it going to a networking event. It's just a digital version of a networking event. That's the best way to think about it when you're thinking about it for a business use. Embracing trends. Instagram often introduces these different features in your story that's like polls, quizzes, all that stuff. I do that a lot with, guessing house pricing or liking a design that I found that was really cool. But by staying active in this format, you can adapt to and capitalize on emerging trends such as new stickers, the filters, like I said, or interactive elements. Helping you stay relevant, appealing to your audience is very important. That's what Instagram stories do. So overall, in this Instagram rant that I just did, Instagram stories offer a dynamic engagement platform to showcase content with your audience or on more personal level. And staying current on social media trends is, I know, hard for me as well. It's hard for any professional out there that is saying that they're a content creator or they are a social media expert. They are a social media expert. I'm not watering that down at all, but there's no way of knowing everything about social media because social media is changing drastically, and Instagram in general doesn't tell everybody everything about what they have changed. They do tell content creators a little bit about what they change, and that I do highly suggest you follow people like that that do know that content, because they usually release it, and that's the whole point of Instagram, telling them they want people to know. So follow those accounts, and the best way to find those accounts are just finding digital coaches on social media, or you could just search up Instagram coach. They're the ones that are posting that content. I've had a lot of them on my podcast. You could look back on the Pro Series podcast. There's many of them. I follow them. And they'll even tell you like audio that's trending for reels, all that kind of cool stuff. But whether you're an individual looking to share experience or a business aiming to promote products and services, Instagram stories can be very valuable tool in your social media strategy. And I highly, highly, highly suggest you do it, especially if you're not doing any post, or you're taking weeks and weeks off of posting, which is a completely other topic and something that we have gone over, but I know a lot of people would like me to talk more about in a future off-topic episode. But let's get into Country Music Weekly. Let's start with the media-based chart, and then we'll go into this. Actually, let's start with the CMA Awards. I watched part of it. CMAs used to be so much fun to watch, in my opinion. They past couple years have just been not fun to watch, and it shows in the viewership. Anybody who is not a country music fan, you can come off, but I'm going to go on a little rant here. You know, the viewership of the CMA Awards this year nearly went down to like 6 million, which was up to like 10. I think there's so much politics that goes along with country music in those association award shows, which is so sad. And it comes to a point where what do these awards actually mean anymore? And there was a lot of people. The biggest award of the night is Entertainer of the Year. And it's usually they have set criteria, but again, it's the association voting for this. So it's ultimately like a popularity contest at this point. It's like who's your prom queen or prom king of the year, who's really popular. And if you take statistics only into the award shows, I think that's what it should be. If you look at this year and you look at all the nominees for Entertainer of the Year, there was only one person, in my opinion, that was just had to win. They not only had the most number ones in one year, they are arguably one of the biggest artists in the world behind Taylor Swift. They had one of the biggest songs of 2023, not just in country music, but in all genres. And that person is Morgan Wallen. We talk about him a lot on this fan. And I'm not talking about that just because I'm a huge fan of his, because I'm a huge fan of Carrie Underwood, and she was also nominated. But I still think Morgan Wallen was the clear winner in that situation. There was a lot of mean hate on this award on social media. Because Lainey Wilson did win. I'm a huge fan of Lainey Wilson. I think her voice, her music, her Bill Bottom Country's album was absolutely insane for a sophomore album. I think she's going to be one of the biggest country music stars out there. She's just so well liked, not just in country music, but all over. But I don't think it was her time. But she did win. She really. I'm trying to tread on this lightly. She did have a big year. She had, I think, 2 number ones. But again, Morgan Wallen had like 4 or 5, and still he's about to have another number one. With Thinking About Me, and even more. And he had the biggest album. And again, that also another hate from Lainey Wilson was she won Album of the Year when Morgan Wallen had one of the biggest albums of the decade. It's just sad that people who statistically deserve it and actually achieved and broke numerous records don't get recognized for that. But I don't want to water down what Lainey Wilson's success was, because she's extremely talented. I'm a huge fan. I saw her live this summer, and it was amazing. Her energy is amazing. I can't wait to see her again. I'm a huge fan of hers, but again, I just don't think she should have won. But that's beside the point. It happened. Chris Stapleton won for Male Vocalist of the Year. Again, I'm a huge fan of his, but I'm confused on how he won. He just released his album last week. Hasn't had number one this year. Didn't really have a tour. He just announced his tour. So I don't know. I just don't understand how someone who released a double album, who had one of the biggest albums of 2023 and in country music in the past so many years, had one of the biggest tours behind Taylor Swift, is one of the biggest artists in music in general, had the biggest song of 2023 in general, all genres, win a single award at the CMA Awards. To me, that waters down the award show, and it makes me lose credibility. It just loses credibility in the CMAs in general. And I mean, if you go back to the Entertainer of the Year, I think it's been a kind of a really sticky situation in the past so many years, and it's sad looking back that Carrie Underwood or Miranda Lambert has never won a CMA Entertainer of the Year when Carrie already won it 3 times at the ACMs. Like what's going on at the CMAs? And I'm not really putting them to the side because they have their issues as well, but they're better than the CMAs. It's just sad. And then a lot of people were confused on Tracy Chapman won Song of the Year, given that song was released in 1989, which is, Fast Car, Luke Combs' version. Big song, great song, great rendition, great cover, but it's just hard. A lot of people are like, how does a cover win Song of the Year? Doesn't make sense. But one person I was super excited for was Jelly Roll. Jelly Roll he's had an amazing year. He really has, and him winning New Artist of the Year was insane. And I think him or Morgan Wallen should have won Male Vocalist of the Year, in my opinion, or Luke Combs. Luke Combs also did have a huge year. And then, yeah, that's all I have. I know on social media it was kind of a Lainey like hate match, but you need to think about Lainey didn't ask for this. This is all nominations. She didn't pay someone to win this award. She was nominated. She was voted on. She was voted on by her peers. So don't put the hate on her. Put the hate on the CMA Awards. Put the hate on the association, the Country Music Association, that is messed up. And, I just kind of feel bad for her having to go through that. But that's all I have for CMA Awards. I mean, I probably could have got probably a lot more, gave more detail, but I just don't want to give the wrong impression. Let's get to the media base chart. Number 5 this week is Tim McGraw, Standing Room Only. Number 4 is Jelly Roll and Lainey Wilson with Save Me. Number 3, Dylan Scott, Can't Have My. Number 2, Morgan Wallen, Thinking About Me. And then the new number 1 this week is Dustin Lynch, Stars Like Confetti. Let's get into new music. Not a whole lot. I mean, CMA Awards, they have a decent come out. But one song that's not a country song, but has a country music artist on it that I want to mention, which I think is the song of the week, is Jonas Brothers had Bailey Zimmerman on their new single called Strong Enough. Go check it out. It's awesome. They've been teasing it for quite a lot on TikTok and social media, so go check that out. Kenny Chesney came out with a new song after last week's announcement of his new tour coming out next year with Uncle Kracker, Zach Brown Band, and Megan Maroney, which I'm super pumped about. The single's called Take Her Home. Great song. It's a little bit slower song, but definitely check that out. Next up is Hardy is coming out with another version of his Hicks tape, which I love. If you haven't or know anything about Hardy's Hicks tapes, they're a bunch of collaborations, basically. And these two were performed on the CMA Awards and made a lot of buzz because it was a Joe Diffie cover with Morgan Wallen and Post Malone. And he just released the first one to country radio this week, which will be Post Malone's first country song to the country radio, which is Pickup Man. And that's a Joe Diffie classic. So there'll be Hardy, Joe Diffie, and Post Malone on that song. And then the second song off of that Hicks tape, Volume 3, Diff tape, is John Deere Green with Morgan Wallen, Joe Diffie, and Hardy, which both of those were sung on CMA Awards, which was awesome. Post Malone was actually asked backstage by an interviewer, like, does this mean you're going to release a full country album? And he's like, I think so. So I'm really pumped about that. His music has always really leaned country and had storytelling, and he has that awesome voice for it. So I can't wait for that. Next up, Growing Up Raising You by Gabby Barrett is a great song she wrote for her kids. It's a slower song, but it's a beautifully written song. Go check that out. Chris Stapleton Higher album. I haven't been able to listen to the whole thing, but it's pretty good. It is very the lead single White Horse is the showrunner and the shining star in the album to me, just because it's different from what Chris Stapleton has ever released. It's more high energy. It's great. Go check that out. And a whole lot of country music. Christmas songs have been coming out. Kimberly Perry came out with her rendition of Hallelujah. And Walker Hayes came out with a new version of his hit song from the pandemic, Fancy Like. It's called Fancy Like Christmas. I have no words for that song. I just want you to go check that out, and you can make your own assumption off of that. Logan Crosby, if you don't know him, I've talked about him many times on this podcast. He's a new singer. He's the cousin of Jason Aldean. He was on Claim to Fame on ABC last summer. He came out with another singer called Land. He has such a cool voice. You need to go check him out. Runaway With You from his EP over the summer is such a good song. I can't wait for him to pop off. And then another one, Noah Cohen. I know his album has been out for a little bit. It came out in June, but he keeps cover these duet versions of songs. But go check him out. I've been listening to his Stick sessions on repeat, and they're just so good. He has such a cool voice, and I know they're not technically country, but he has a lot of duets with country music artists like Zach Bryan and Casey Musgraves, and he has one with Post Malone. But he's a great artist, and I think he leans more towards country, even though he's alternative. But yeah, go check him out. That's all I have this week. The Pro Series episode that will be coming out this week is with a owner of a kitchen and bath dealership down in Tampa Bay that is actually opening up this week. And he is also NKBA's 30 Under 30, so we talk about that. So stay tuned for that coming out on Tuesday. I might be releasing it earlier in the day. I'm not sure yet, but stay tuned to that, and I hope you have a great rest of the week.